Hi, this is Tracy Taylor. We've decided to do a candidate forum so the voters can get to know the Heber City Council race. Today we have Mark Tobler. Thanks for coming. I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you.
First off, tell us why you decided to run for Heber City Council.
All right. I decided to run because I had a few people ask me about it as we knew there was a couple seats that were coming open, and I personally have been involved with the community as far as athletics, coaching at the high school with the wrestling team, and kind of in that realm, and thought, this would be a good chance to get involved at a little bit different level, and to just make sure the community that I'd like to raise my children in, stays into kind of what I hope that it will be as they grow up here.
So what do you do for a living, and how do some of those traits would bring something good to the council that maybe Heber City doesn't have right now?
I do construction management for a living. So I've I studied construction management as a degree and a business minor, and have worked in the industry there. So I feel like my knowledge and background with construction management will be helpful, as obviously the city's in a time of growth and of planning that's needed to make sure we do smart growth, and we're really looking for the future. And I feel like that background that I have I've been in the land development side a little bit with an internship for a couple years down Salt Lake, and then working with the general contractor, just the knowledge of construction, the process. Some of the aspects of planning, and kind of looking to the future, make sure that costs are in line, and some of that stuff I feel like will be a benefit as I if I get on the council, then I have that knowledge and I have that background where there's obviously building and infrastructure and things that the city's got to deal with here, and so I feel like it'd be a helpful background that way.
Great. We'll talk about a few issues that Heber City's facing right now, one of which is annexations, growth, whether Heber City should expand. I know Heber City Council is looking at their annexation map right now. What are your thoughts about Heber City and annexing and allowing Heber to grow?
Yeah. As far as annexing goes, I think that's something that has to be carefully thought through and really evaluated. Annexation itself, just take in, say, a bunch of new houses or something, doesn't help the city, in my opinion. Rooftops don't pay for themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's still the roads and the, it adds more burden to the public works and what they have to do, plus our systems. And so, really, annexation, I think it needs careful evaluation, pros and cons. What's the benefit for the community versus the cost to the community? Really, it's I feel we've got to have good business growth, because that's going to pay for itself, but also help supplement where our property taxes don't necessarily cover all the costs that are needed for that. So when that comes, that's kind of the way I look at annexation. It's got to be very carefully evaluated. Right now, like you said, the plan is kind of being looked at, and for good or bad, I don't know. It's just, like I said, careful evaluation has to be done and decided. And if the plan changes a little bit, I don't know, that's the end of the world. But it does open the door for other potential areas to possibly want to annex. And I think if they meet all the criteria for annexation, if a group of people came, a certain community or whatever it would, what you have, and would want to be considered for annexation, as long as all the stuff is met, I feel like everybody should deserve a fair shake at that. Not saying that it should be approved, but that, if there's a legitimate group that has come forward with a petition and they meet the criteria, then it definitely has to be looked at by the council. Right. And that's what the council's there for, is to make that decision, okay? Yes or no.
Right.
So it's, that's kind of my thoughts on that.
That's what we're dealing with a lot right now. The airport expansion.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about Heber City's airport growing, working with the FAA or not?
Yeah, great question.
As we move forward.
Okay. Airport, I don't want to see it necessarily grow. We have a fair amount of traffic, as everybody knows, with people that come and want to go enjoy the beautiful surroundings, Park City and stuff. I feel like when it comes to the airport, I think it's critical that you have a good working relationship with the FAA. I feel like civility and what's the right word I'm looking for? Anyway, just I think if you have that good relationship, that presents a better opportunity for us, I think, to work hand in hand with the FAA and say, you know what, we don't want to expand, we don't want to encroach on other property, we don't want to build a bigger runway and stuff like that. But I think if we can work with them, then it gives us a better option to hopefully pursue some other avenues. Maybe they can still allow some other things to happen without necessarily expanding the size of the airport itself. The airport's here, and we kind of got to deal with it. So I think that's kind of my approach on that. Is I feel like we need a good relationship with the FAA, the FAA, so we can try to work our agenda, if you will, to keep that to a size that the community wants. I mean, I don't think anybody necessarily wants a huge airport with tons of airplanes and stuff coming in here. But there's going to be people coming in here, and so we just got to find that right balance. And I think a good relationship will go a long way doing that.
Okay. The bypass road, some think it takes business away from Main Street. Others think it's got to happen with the tankers on Main. So, what would you like to see happen with the bypass road?
Yeah, that's again another big issue, like you said.
Tough question,
goods and bads. I personally feel like when people want to come to a town, they want to shop and see what a Main Street has to offer, they're going to do it. So I grew up out in Colorado, and my town and the next little town, Delta, Colorado, Montrose, they both have bypasses. I know Delta's went in just within the last number of years, but when I was a kid in Montrose, they did a bypass for the truckers, get them off the Main Street. And I felt like it made a difference, and it was good. You may see some people who, maybe they're in a rush, and so they will bypass Main Street. Maybe it will have a small effect, but I don't think it's going to be a real adverse effect on the businesses. I feel like the traffic, the way it is on Main Street, that of itself is bad for business. I mean, there's not a lot of parking on our Main Street, as everybody knows. It's 4-lane, basically state highway running through Main Street. So I feel like a bypass. I personally hate Main Street. I mean, you can't make a left-hand turn. So I would I agree. I think it needs to happen. I think there needs to be a bypass that that can divert some of that major traffic, get it off our roads, let Main Street feel more. I don't think you can change the atmosphere of Main Street if we keep it the way it is. I mean, too many truckers, too much traffic. I mean, holidays, weekends. I mean, it's just line to line all through Main Street. Right. So that doesn't present a very good atmosphere, I don't think. So I think a bypass would be beneficial to hopefully curb some of that.
Right.
I think the biggest thing is, when and if it does happen, that, you just get the truckers and people like that are really going to have to utilize it. But I think it'd also be beneficial for people who want to kind of bypass just a quick, out to Provo or up to Park City. So I feel like the bypass is a good thing. I know like you said, there is some, you still got to weigh it out a little bit, for sure. But I think it would help present other opportunities to hopefully do some other stuff, maybe to Main Street. But right now it's just a big thoroughfare. It's just super busy. So.
Right. The other thing we've been seeing a lot of this summer is infrastructure being worked on, replacing and repairing our infrastructure. Sure. We've had our water fees and sewer fees raised to do that. How do you think it's going?
I think everything could be better. I mean, always, sometimes growing up in a similar community, I saw where sometimes it, stuff kind of slips by. It's not necessarily at everybody's forefront. Sometimes, it could be annexation or the airport that has consumed people or whatever the case. And then sometimes these little things get overlooked, like infrastructure. I mean, we've had a ton of growth here just in the years that I've lived in the valley. And so it's come from the construction world, nothing lasts forever. So sooner or later, depending on how many houses, this and that, things have got to be upgraded. Things wear out, and so it's a necessary evil, so to speak. I mean, nobody loves. A year ago, doing 600 South was painful. I drive that road a lot. So when that was under construction, the entire summer and stuff was painful. but I think people just have to sit back and realize, I mean, it's a necessary thing to keep our community looking nice, functioning properly. And, when it comes to the fees, I've noticed that as well. And I think in my latest utility bill, again, I think I saw they're looking to raise rates again. And, again, nobody likes it, but it's needed. You've got to be able to plan and forecast and have that pot of money to help do that, and not put the city and us as taxpayers and stuff in like a real pinch where you have to see this real dramatic. I would rather see a small increase, every other year or every few years or whatever to help build that fund, rather than all of a sudden be like, oh man, I mean, we've got to do all this work and we don't have money, so let's hit everybody with a 40% increase in water or whatever, So unfortunately, it's just part of the deal, and it's got to happen. But I think that it can be done in a smart way to where us as citizens in the community, we don't necessarily feel like it's a constant drag on family budgets and stuff like that. But it's definitely needed. You can see that a lot of that stuff is needing to be upgraded and replaced around here, and so. Unfortunately, like I say, it's going to happen. As far as some of the other stuff going on, I mean, again, you'll never keep everybody happy. Chip sealing and stuff is obviously a lot going on right now, and that sometimes is a pain, but it's a cheaper alternative that helps, our roads and things last longer without the extreme cost of repaving and some of these other options that are out there. So I think it's a fine balance, and I feel like as the city collaborates and works together and make sure that they budget appropriately, then they should be able to handle it in a reasonable way that will keep everybody happy, I believe.
Great. Heber Light and Power is a big deal.
Okay.
Heber City owns 75% of that utility. Do you have any thoughts about Heber Light and Power? Have you been keeping an eye on what's been going there?
Yeah, honestly, on that one, I don't have probably a lot of thoughts. I not super haven't been super involved in that particular issue as far as kind of what the hot buttons are or what the issues are with Heber Light and Power. So I really don't have much there.
Not a problem. If you get on the council, is there a pet project? Is there something you'd like to work on to accomplish personally?
I personally know. I mean, I've been asked that a lot. Like, what's my agenda? I honestly don't have an agenda. My only thing is really just being involved in the community. Like I said, at a different level instead of just the athletic end. I've met a lot of people in the community through what I've done, and I feel like the city council is just another opportunity to be involved at that different level. And so I really don't have a pet project. I know obviously there's these hot issues in town that are going to be a big part of the new council that's starting this next year. A lot of those issues are going to have to be taken care of over the next term, I guess, the next 4 years. But nothing, I don't really have anything in particular. I mean, just I want to be involved and make sure that we have, as we grow, there's good, open spaces, trails, opportunities for the kids to enjoy the community and not make it. I mean, we don't live in the city for a reason, right? And so we want to keep the atmosphere, the kind of the small town atmosphere, but at the same time we're not going to be able to stop the growth, and so we got to do it. We got to plan and kind of move with it with a plan in mind so that it grows in a good way that keeps everybody happy, keeps everybody wanting to be here. Because if it becomes another metropolitan city, then it's natural. A lot of people are going to move out of the valley, and this is a great place to live. So that's really just involvement. Just want to make sure that I can have a voice in some of the stuff that's going on as well.
Well, great. Well, tell the voters why you think they should vote for you, and a little bit about yourself, and they want to hear from you.
All right. Well, again, Mark Tobler here, and so I think just level head, common sense. I'd like to get on the council just to have a voice. I'd like to talk to you as the community members and listen to your concerns and be able to take those to the council meetings and address that stuff. And hopefully that we, it doesn't help if people don't get involved, and that's kind of where I'm at. I want to get involved. I want to be like I said, a common sense and reasonable person on the council, and be able to make smart decisions as we go forward. And I'd love to have your vote. And I mean, I do have a small family here, and I work here in the city, so I do care how the city grows and how it affects business, as well as what's going to present opportunities and stuff for my kids as they grow up. So I'd love to have your vote.
Great. Thanks so much, and thanks for watching, and there'll be more candidate interviews here shortly. Thanks.